Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. This is a Case Review Subcommittee, Tuesday, May 16th. Welcome, everyone.
Okay, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Although thanks, Jim. I really appreciate what you guys are saying here about policies and procedures and all that kind of thing, but I think actions speak a little more than words, and that is that the Policy Review Subcommittee hasn't met more than twice in the last 8 months, and so I'm curious as why that's going on. Now, as far as what's in the letters and all those kinds of things, I think it would be great to inform the complainant that this is a summary, and that if they want to get their hands on the entire investigation, that's available to them, and they can either call you guys or file a NIPR request on it or whatever. Okay, because a lot of people don't even know about this kind of thing. I mean, I talk to people all the time and they have no idea what I'm talking about. So there's that. Then the other thing is, as far as my understanding is that you all, as the board members, aren't getting access to the disciplinary, the previous discipline on officers.
Ed does.
Ed does, but you don't. And I don't quite understand that. I don't know if you ask for it, if you get access to it or not. But, I mean, what was it, yesterday? I believe it was yesterday. The Albuquerque Journal came out with a story concerning this recent car accident with the officer yesterday, where the 6-year-old boy was killed. And they apparently got extensive access to the officer's former disciplinary records as far as auto accidents that he had in the past. So if the media can get access to this information, I don't understand why you can't.
Well, actually, what we get, and this is what it looks like. So this is the form, and I printed it out for one of the letters that one of the cases we're going to review today. But Ed reviews it, and then he gives us a summary of what it is. So for example, he's saying that in this particular case, this person should get a written reprimand and 40 hours of suspension. Mm-hmm. In this explanation, he says how many times they've been, and he gives us a summary of it, not all the detail.
I see.
Okay, but so he has seen it, and he summarizes it to us to justify his recommendation to us for a recommendation to the chief. Okay. So that's how that works. Okay. And so I'm not sure that I need to read every single thing about this, but I do want to know, is this somebody who's problematic?
Right.
So, for example, in the case that you're talking about with the officer with 5 previous things, what I don't know yet, I mean, first of all, I haven't seen them, so I don't know anything about what those things are except what was in the paper.
Right.
But my question would be, after hearing that in the paper, was there any retraining, for example? Is there a policy? That leads me to a policy question that says, how many times did it take? Mm-hmm. You know, for those kinds of things. So that's what I'm saying, is that we're here to look at individual cases, but we're also here to look at the big picture and to say, what is it that what suggestions can we make that might make this more credible to and transparent to the people in the public, just like it would be to us.
And this gets back to my point about the Policy and Procedures Review Subcommittee not meeting, because it was in your March at your
I don't know the reason for that, but we're going to find out.
At your full meeting in March, that's when a lot of this stuff kind of came out, that they had 66 auto accidents just for that month. And here we are, well, 2 months later, and we still haven't seen that subcommittee.
But at that meeting, actually, I'm not sure if it was March or April, but I talked to Natalie, what's her last name? Who's their statistics person, and she asked me to clarify what exactly was I looking for, and then I talked to Lieutenant Garcia. So the report we'll receive in June, which you read about in the paper, is really, and it's been written about a couple of
Okay.
different ways, but we did ask for a report. They just asked for an extension so that it could be June instead of May, and we gave it to them. But what we asked for is what's the data, because 66 by itself doesn't tell us anything.
Right.
Okay.
That was
Right.
66 over a 3-month period. It wasn't just for
No, I
that.
No,
I
it was
think
for
you're
the,
wrong. I
no,
think
for
it was
that
66
month,
for that month.
That's correct.
And so,
And then I
we,
saw in the paper that for all of last year, they had somewhere around 300.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're.
so
they're
we've been
already-
asking about this since for 8 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, he and Dr. Ring have been asking about this for 8 months. And we've asked for more, like is it a preventable accident, is it
Well,
not?
once
No.
again, this goes back, I mean, you guys have been talking about this for 8 months internally, apparently.
No, at the board meeting.
No,
we
this is
talked
at
about
the
it.
board meeting.
Okay, but where's your policy and procedures meetings? You've had 2 of them in the last 8 months.
That's, I don't think those two tie together.
Well,
Well, I
yes.
believe that that's a policy and procedure issue.
You're right, we need to check on that and see what's going on with that. But I want to make sure you're clear about this report in June. What we asked them for is a comparison to cities of like size. That's the first step. Second question.
Now, you're talking about June of last year?
No, June of this coming year.
Oh,
The report that
okay.
we'll get in June
Okay.
of this year
Okay.
will compare Albuquerque Police Department accidents as to the type of accident and how it compares to cities of like size. Now it's an apples to apples comparison, relatively speaking. But my point is, that's not the end of the question. That's not the end of the curiosities we have about this.
Sure.
Because if you look back in our reports, we asked, when officers get in trouble, how does the police department track that? Okay, and we asked Major Tyler that question and said, and they said, the EIS system is not a disciplinary system and, all of that stuff they talked about. But if that's not it, what is it? Okay, so what is it that they use to track people that are in need of extra training,
right.
discipline, or need to be exited from the police department? How do they do that? And this driving thing is only one of those questions. So the next set of questions that come after this report have to do with, because we don't know, we look at 66, I have no way of knowing that 5 of those aren't the same officer.
Right,
I have no
exactly.
way of knowing that 3 months ago, 4 of those officers were in accidents before that, okay? So that's the kind of, we don't have access to their individual files, but we can ask for reports that are by individual. So how many police officers are involved in car accidents?
Mm-hmm.
Is it 66? Is it 5 that are always in accidents? Is it 10? Is it 100? I don't know the answer. We have to find the answer, because that tells us what we need to create policy recommendations moving forward. So all I'm saying is, we are on the trail of all of that, and we're trying very hard to get that information.
So that question wasn't put into your request that you're looking at right now?
No, I asked for the comparison first. Okay, I did ask Major Tyler at the board meeting.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
How do you do
How-
this?
yeah.
But what I'm saying is that we are looking at how do they track overall officers that get in trouble, get sideways with the rules. How do they do that? And though they may never give us the names, I'm still going to ask for how many have how many. Okay,
Right,
that's always going to be a question,
right,
because we need to know that.
Right. Well, and then I think the other question is how does the department's policy compare to other departments' policies?
Well, that's a very good question.
What are the best practices?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So all I'm saying is, I appreciate what you're saying, I get what you're saying, and we share a lot of the same concerns.
Okay. Now, there's one other point I'd like to make here, and I'm glad that you're getting a summary from Ed as far as what the previous disciplinary record was and how that fits into his recommendations as
Right.
to discipline for whatever this new thing is. But I also want to talk about the Garrity statements that officers give. If you look around the country, and maybe you could reach out to some of the other civilian police oversight agencies, whatever they call them around the country, I think you'll find that they have access to that information. And perhaps I know you guys are still talking about amendments to the ordinance. Perhaps you need to take a harder
But we
look
can
at
look
that.
at Garrity's statements. We can as a board.
Yes, you can, but I believe the ordinance is pretty tight on that as far
It is
as
tight.
what you guys say out in public about
Oh,
those
yeah.
statements.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
That's a good
And I believe that is completely wrong, because you guys aren't looking at criminal aspects, you're looking at civil aspects, administrative aspects.
We're looking at everything.
Well, I understand that, but.
We're not acting on the criminal part.
That's right,
Because
that's
we're not
right.
supposed to.
And if you look around the country, you will find that Garrity statements are not exempt to public discussion when you're talking about civil or administrative actions. Okay?
Well,
They
we'll
only
look
apply
into
to
that.
criminal actions. And once again, I've told you guys this before, that here in Albuquerque and here in the state of New Mexico at the state level, Garrity statements are discussed all the time in public.
Well, we have asked that question, Charles, I will tell you that. And our council, as I recall, said that we don't have the ability to do that, that's part of the deal. So I don't know that it's true, but we'll check.
And that's what I'm talking about as far as amending the ordinance is concerned. Because I believe the ordinance has stipulations in there that kind of make it a little tough for you guys. And I think that needs to be taken a hard look.
Okay,
Okay?
yes.
I'll answer your question about why the board doesn't have access to the disciplinary history. Because the board cannot know who the officer is that's coming before them. So.
You'd have to redact it.
So.
Well, what if they did?
The powers.
Give them a
The
chance.
powers of the recommendation or discipline are solely that of the executive director. It's not for the board. And so for the distinction that you're making with the media is that is a settled issue and has worked its way through the entire disciplinary process and is a final disposition when the media gets it, as opposed to making a recommendation for discipline when that is a pending matter.
Well, what I'm getting at is they should be able to have access to those records also.
All I'm saying
The
is-
things that were finalized, if they want. You know, I mean, I'm glad that you're giving them source.
They can't know the identity of the officer
Because,
because of the collective bargaining agreement 1.
So,
They
yeah.
can't know the identity of the officer.
Okay.
So that's why it's Officer O, Officer Q, Officer Z, whatever. So
Right.
that they're making a judgment based upon.
we don't want to be biased either.
Sure, I get that. So, I know the collective bargaining agreement is in process right now for their new contract, which will be coming up. Do you guys have any input into that? Do you have a person that's able to sit in on those bargaining talks?
No.
We're not a party.
No, but we
You're
have
not
pointed
a party.
out some of the problems with the existing contract
Right,
and how it hamstrings this process.
right.
So we have talked about that.
It seems, and I've been involved with this for quite some time also, and it seems that the last time the contract was rewritten, it kind of flew in the face of what was already in the ordinance.
Well,
So,
Charles,
So, anyway.
we need to get on to the meeting,
Sure,
so.
absolutely,
okay?
you betcha, thanks.
All right. That ends the public comments. CPOA report. Ed, you have anything for us today?